By now, we already know that cave diving is super cool, but also incredibly risky too. And sadly, it's got some totally tragic accidents. Among them are Shaq Exley's Zacation sinkhole, Dave Shaw's incidents, and the Plura cave accident. If you'd like to know more, you can check out these videos on the channel. But for today, we're going to add a few more tragedies to that list. This is Fatal Tragedies, with the top 3 cave diving deaths that shocked the world. The Shaft. In 1938, a big hole called the Shaft was found in a place called Thompson's Paddock on a farm near a small town south of Mount Gambier, where a horse accidentally stepped on a tiny hole about a foot wide. The small hole turned out to be the entrance to a big underground space. Later, they made the entrance bigger, about a meter wide, so people could go down and explore. This cave is one of many in this area of South Australia that were formed in a type of rock called limestone, which has lots of holes in it. The main room of the cave is big, about 460 feet long and 260 feet wide. The water in the cave is about 23 feet below the ground level, and the opening gets wider at this point. There's a pile of rocks under the entrance that goes up to about 118 feet deep. There's also a tunnel that goes off to one side down to about 260 feet, and another one that goes a different direction down to about 407 feet deep. Because the entrance is so high up and the drop is so big, divers in their gear have to be lowered down separately with a special lifting device. The Dive. On May 26, 1973, 9 divers went to Mount Gambier in South Australia to dive in the Shaft, a small opening about 3 feet wide that leads to a big underwater cave. The cave is well known among divers for its clear water and interesting features inside. The divers who planned to explore the cave were John H. Bockerman, Peter S. Burt, Christine Millett, Glenn Millett, Stephen Millett, Larry Reynolds, Gordon Roberts, and Robert J. Smith. A 9th group member, Joan Harper, had decided she wouldn't be diving and would instead remain beside the sinkhole, preparing hot soup and assisting the group in other ways. The day before, they had made a successful dive, putting a line 150 feet into the cave to a spot called the Rock Pile, right underneath the entrance. They planned to explore more the next day. The group got to the sinkhole on the morning of May 28th after filling up their 72 cubic feet diving tanks in Mount Gambier, and they quickly went down to the rock pile. The divers said they didn't plan to go past the edge, which is a narrow, sloping part of the cave beyond the main chamber, away from the natural light coming from the sinkhole. The rock pile was usually seen as a safe limit for diving for fun. The cave around it was dark, not yet explored, full of loose dirt and bits of limestone, and went down to depths where the risk of nitrogen narcosis gets high, unless the air they breathe is mixed with helium. Even near the rock pile, narcosis could have been affecting their ability to think clearly. Around 1 p.m., the divers got into the water and went down together without splitting up or leaving extra air tanks for decompression, which was a mistake. They quickly reached a rock pile at 108 feet deep, the highest point in the cave. After signaling they were okay, they swam down to a floor covered with boulders at 150 feet. When they got to about 165 feet, Robert felt sick and decided to go back up alone. His condition worsened, so he quickly floated to the surface. Feeling better around 30 feet, he chose to go back down to 120 feet to wait for the others. Confusion kicks in. The rest of the divers reached about 171 feet, where the cave floor nearby touched the wall. Ignoring their plan, they went into a tunnel and lost all light, making a bad situation worse. They started to panic as Peter needed to check his depth gauge, and Christine, unaffected by nitrogen narcosis, kept going deeper. Glenn, feeling faint, stayed near the tunnel entrance, watching the others go further into the darkness, depending entirely on their small torches for light. At 204 feet, Gordon signaled it was time to ascend to avoid a long decompression. They began to go up, but hit a dead end at about 135 feet, still affected by nitrogen narcosis. They couldn't find their way back. Gordon and Larry saw no exit, and their fear was clear. Glenn, seeing a bit of light, tried to head up and signal the others, but couldn't find them. Peter, running low on air, followed Glenn's light, while Larry, almost out of air, managed to follow Peter after his torch failed. Glenn thought he was the last to leave as he followed Robert up. Peter made a quick decompression stop and then surfaced. To their horror, only Joan, who had never entered the cave, was waiting with Glenn. Realizing the others were still below, Glenn and Robert made desperate attempts to find them, but visibility was too poor. Despite their efforts, it was clear that they were out of air and chances to save them were gone. The authorities were then called in to help. Body recovery. On May 29, 1973, following an accident, police divers searched a cave to 200 feet without finding anyone, acknowledging their lack of preparedness. Further attempts on May 30th failed, prompting a pause for Navy-assisted training. In January 1974, during a documentary shoot, a TV crew illuminated a sinkhole, spotting a body at 50 feet, initially mistaken for a third diver. They reported the discovery, and on January 23rd, police retrieved Stephen Millett's body from under a ledge, identified by dental records and his diving gear. Despite further searches down to 180 feet, no additional findings were reported. As the landowner grew uneasy with the bodies remaining on their property, both amateur and police diving teams prepared for recovery efforts. In March 1974, RG Trainer's team located Christine Millett, Gordon Roberts, and John Bockerman's bodies at various depths. Initial attempts to recover them were hindered by murky water and narcosis. After extensive training and planning, the final recovery operation commenced. Despite facing narcosis, the divers successfully recovered Bockerman's body in April 1974, nearly a year after the incident. We can all agree that the prolonged and challenging recovery efforts highlighted the dangers of cave diving and the importance of proper preparation and equipment. For the next disaster on our list, we have number 2, the Manatee Springs father and son diving tragedy. Manatee Spring Cave Structure. Manatee Springs State Park, found in Levy County, Florida, is known for the Manatee Springs Cave System. Apart from the main spring entrance, visitors can access the cave system through 3 natural openings in the park's ground, known as karst windows. The biggest of these is called Catfish Hotel, a well-like spot for diving in open water, situated 467 feet upstream from the main spring entrance. Further upstream, by another 737 feet, is Sioux Sink. This entrance is located within a camping area and is used only for emergency exits from the caves. The most distant of the 3, Freedman's Sink, is located 1,712 feet from Catfish Hotel. It features a small, shallow sinkhole that opens up into the cave below through a 4-foot wide shaft in the ceiling. The Family Dive. On May 14, 2022, 4 divers headed to Manatee Springs State Park for a cave diving adventure. They aimed to explore the cave system, starting at Freedman's Sinkhole and exiting at the Catfish Hotel. This cave's part of a network connected to the Suwannee River, famous for its clear waters and diverse wildlife. The 2 sons and the 2 fathers were all new to this cave system. Relying only on a video they watched beforehand, they embarked on their journey. Despite being certified cave divers, their experience was limited, with only about 100 dives each. Equipped with HP 100 side-mounted cylinders and primary and backup lights, they entered the cave around 11:17 a.m., following a guideline upstream. Divided into 2 teams, they cautiously made their way, with the fathers following the sons. When they reached what they thought was the exit at Catfish Hotel, doubts arose. The darkness made it hard to see, and Diver 1 ventured further to check for clarity, but found none. Concerned they might be at the wrong exit, they decided to backtrack towards Sioux Sink, suspecting they had mistaken it for Catfish Hotel. Lost in the dark. Their journey became a puzzle as they navigated the dark waters, facing uncertainty about their location. With caution and quick thinking, they retraced their path, hoping to find the correct exit and safely conclude their adventure in the cave system of Manatee Springs State Park. As they sought the exit, the divers reorganized into father-son teams. Diver 2, a father, noticed his air pressure dropping and struggled against the current. Feeling concerned for his safety, he pushed forward, determined to reach Sioux Sink. Upon reaching the upline, he spotted Diver number 1 already ascending. Turning to check on the others, he saw Diver 3 leading with Diver 4 close behind. Relieved to see them, he signaled to them, receiving reassuring replies. Divers 1 and 2 successfully exited the cave system, with Diver 1 emerging around 12 o'clock, 43 minutes after entering, and Diver 2 followed at 12:05. Realizing that Divers 3 and 4 were not exiting at Sioux Sink, Diver 2 immediately called 911. Instead of following the upline, Divers 3 and 4 mistakenly continued toward Freedman's Sink. Diver 4 urged his son, Diver 3, to swim faster. As Diver 3 ascended the hill near Freedman's Sink, he assumed Diver 4 was following him, so he exited the cave around 12:20, having nearly depleted one cylinder. The rescue. Unfortunately, Diver 4 never resurfaced, and his last recorded movements were at 12:17. Rescue teams began searching, finding his camera and light downstream of Freedman's Sink. The International Underwater Cave Rescue and Recovery Team later located Diver 4's body about 100 feet downstream from where his equipment was found. He had exhausted the air in both cylinders. Analysis revealed multiple factors contributing to the accident. Their lack of familiarity with the cave system and strong currents affected their navigation. Additionally, their decision to traverse upstream in an unfamiliar cave system was risky. They could have started at Catfish and traveled downstream to gain familiarity with the flow. Other errors included turning back instead of using his safety spool to locate visibility zones, and Diver 4 using his video light after the dive had turned. This confused Diver 3, who assumed Diver 4 was following him. The divers also failed to work together effectively, with missed opportunities for teamwork and gas sharing. Despite their reputation for safety, the divers' decisions led to tragic outcomes, leaving the diving community puzzled. And finally, the last tragedy on our list, we have the tragic incident of Agnes Milowka. Agnes Milowka's story is both inspiring and tragic, highlighting the allure and dangers of cave diving. Born on December 23, 1981 in Australia, Agnes became an accomplished diver with certifications in PADI Open Water, Advanced Open Water, Rescue, CDA Advanced Care, and TDI Advanced Trimix, among others. Her spontaneous dive into technical diving led her to become not just a technical diver, but also an underwater photographer, author, maritime archaeologist, and celebrated cave explorer. Her passion for exploring the unknown took her to the depths of the ocean and into the heart of complex cave systems, both in Australia and in Florida, often venturing further than others had dared. Her contributions to international diving projects and documentaries, along with her role as a public speaker and author in her field, earned her worldwide recognition. Her adventures led her to Tank Cave, a renowned diving spot located in Mount Gambier, South Australia. Known for its clear waters and extensive maze-like system, Tank Cave offers over 23,000 feet of passages for divers to explore. Despite its beauty and the thrill it provides, the cave is also known for its complexity and potential dangers. The cave system, likened to a wild spider web, requires divers to familiarize themselves thoroughly with the environment and adhere strictly to diving protocols to navigate safely. Achievements. Her legacy as a pioneering diver is marked by her record-breaking dives and her valuable contributions to underwater archaeology, including work with the Lighthouse Archaeological Maritime Program, or LAMP, and historic shipwreck excavations. Her philosophy of living passionately and fearlessly, despite understanding the risks involved in cave diving, inspired many. Her final dive into Tank Cave, where she ventured alone into the unexplored restriction, highlights the extreme dangers of cave diving and underscores her commitment to exploration, ultimately leading to her tragic passing. Her life and work continue to influence and inspire the diving community and beyond. The Dive. In the vast and shadowy depths of Tank Cave, a labyrinthine network of underwater passages beckons the bravest souls, offering both the allure of uncharted territories and the sobering reminder of nature's indomitable forces. It was here, amidst this silent world, that Agnes, a diver whose passion for exploring the aquatic underworld was matched only by her skill, embarked on an expedition that would etch her name into the annals of cave diving history. albeit for reasons as tragic as they are cautionary. On the 25th of February 2011, Agnes shared her excitement for the dive ahead with the world through a tweet, unaware that this journey through Tank Cave's extensive network would be her last. Venturing solo into the cave's winding and narrow tunnels, she sought to navigate a particularly challenging section, a decision permitted under specific conditions, but fraught with peril. Tank Cave is a big maze under the water, and Agnes was brave enough to explore it by herself. Diving alone is allowed sometimes, but it's also incredibly risky. This time, Agnes wanted to go through a very narrow space that was tricky to get through. She went deep into the cave, about 1,970 feet from where she started, and down to 66 feet under the water. Unfortunately, Agnes got lost. The cave was so tight and confusing, and then she stirred up silt from the bottom. The silt is a very fine dirt that can make the water all cloudy. Once the silt was up in the water, she couldn't see anything at all. Even though she tried to stay calm and find her way back, she couldn't. Agnes ran out of air to breathe and didn't make it out. She was dead and hidden in between the cloudy water. At about 1:45 p.m. on Sunday, February 27th, Agnes was reported missing. Upon hearing the news, her friends worked very hard to find her, utilizing a guideline from the cave's entrance and positioning emergency tanks along their route. Her fellow divers, including her diving buddy, Dr. Harris, embarked on a meticulous operation. The team, guided by a video of the path Agnes had taken, dispelled the notion of drilling through the earth in favor of a direct retrieval. Their efforts concluded in a closure as they recovered her body from its watery tomb, not trapped by the cave's physical confines, but overcome by the elements within. And this brings us to the end of our journey today, so thank you for joining us as we explored these tragedies. What secrets do you think lie hidden in the depths of the earth, just waiting to be uncovered, that makes all of these divers anxious? What makes it worth the risk? Make sure you share your thoughts in the comments section below, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more intriguing adventures. We'll see you in our next video.